Chapter 26. Those words filled the eyes of the demons with greed. Radiru, the Radiru Clan, the corners of their mouths were torn long, and the laughter burst out. Was there still a demon who survived from the Radiru Clan? It's a big fish this time. The blood of demon nobles is precious, especially in the demon world where all noble families are destroyed, and only hybrids are left like these days. Don't give her a break. The demons attacked Esil, the demon of the Radiru Clan. Their size grew exponentially, and evil demons emerged from their long nails, aiming for Esil's life. You dare say that, low-level demons? Esil lightly jumped up to dodge all of those attacks and swung the spear without hesitation. But the low-level demons snorted and continued to push Esil. The world has changed a lot to even have divided levels. I never thought the day would come when we would hunt down a demon noble. Esil, on the defensive side, gritted her teeth with a look of resentment. It's been a long time since she has been chased by many demons in the demon realm. To make matters worse, she was forcibly summoned to Earth in that state of her body, so her power was restricted. The way to get rid of that restriction is possession. Those low-level demons had possessed humans, stealing their bodies, and they also developed stardust to amplify their power. A battle between a demon noble with weakened power and a low-level demon with amplified power. It was obvious who would prevail. She is pure blood noble, pure blood. We can make stardust with pure blood, young master, Beru quietly whispered to Suho's ears. Suho slipped behind in the midst of a sudden battle. Yes, it's time. Suho nodded and exchanged glances with the hunters on the cart. The hunters also nodded and secretly moved their bodies. Something unexpected happened, but it worked out rather well. Their initial plan was this. 1. Infiltration. Wearing a crow mask and black robe, Suho will infiltrate the factory pretending to be the youngest low-level demon. 2. Distraction. After that, Suho will create something inside and attract the demon's attention to himself. 3. Escape. The hunters covered with blood will then rescue the people captured in the factory and escape. However, the situation right now happened even before Suho made a fuss. We will move according to plan. All of the hunters on the wagon, including Assistant Lim, possessed speed-related skills. Suho, including them, disappeared from the spot at the same time. They immediately arrived next to the people who were tied up in a corner and shut their mouths. After quickly exchanging glances with them, those who understood the meaning nodded in fear. Suho tore off the chains that bound them with force. Done! Lim's heart raced, wanting to run away right away. Now all we have to do is put them on our backs and run? Right when he carried a civilian on his back. Huh? One of the low-level demons who was fighting Esil saw the scene. Youngest, what are you doing there without fighting? A light of doubt flashed in the demon's eyes through the crow's mask. Instead of answering, Suho shouted, Run! Just in time, the hunters with civilians on their backs rushed out at full speed. The goal is to reach the exit. How dare you? At that moment, several demons fighting Esil quickly stopped. The demons rushed towards the hunters. Suho shouted from behind. Don't stop and keep running! The hunters spurred on their speed with determined eyes. The faster the demons moved, the lesser chance the hunters would reach the exit. They believed in Suho and kept running. Suho did not betray them. Arise! Then, the shadow goblins that Suho had planted near the exit rose up from the floor, biting the legs of the demons. What? The demons were startled, but it was too early to be surprised. Shadow goblins have bad tempers. They mercilessly cut the demons' ankles with the butchering knives they were holding. The bodies of the humans now possessed by demons are indeed weak. Even if their Achilles tendons were just slightly injured, they won't be able to use their strength. The demons screamed and collapsed on the spot. In here! The hunters quickly passed by them, and eventually succeeded in escaping out of the factory. Assistant Professor Lim, who was leaving the iron gate for the last time, turned his head and looked at Suho, who was left behind. Is he really going to be okay? Suho understood what he was trying to say just by looking into his eyes, and nodded with a smirk. Then, the iron door was closed. 3 seconds to escape. 2 seconds for the demons to tear apart the shadow goblins and rise again. 5 seconds total. All plans are going well. All that's left is... It is my turn. Suho quickly counted the number of demons, except for the purple-haired demon that was summoned a moment ago. A total of 9. The problem is that each one of those guys is on a similar level to the youngest he managed to defeat earlier. But it would be worth it. Suho's gaze went down to his own shadow. Right then, arise. He called the shadow soldier, Broki. At that moment, a huge shadow rose in front of Suho. Broki level 1, night class. A gigantic hyena beast with its whole body turns into black steam. This was Suho's initial plan for distraction. Although the order was reversed now, it was a better situation for hunting demons. Broki's murderous roar shook the factory.
What?
The demons who were onslaught to hunt Esil were greatly taken aback. Why is Broki here? No, something is different. The demons already knew Broki, who led the Hyena Guild. Just up to recently, the Hyena Guild were the ones who had been kidnapping and handing over people as ingredients for stardust to the demons. This made the situation much better, although problems still remained. Based on Suho's experience of fighting both Broki and a low-level demon, it was clear that one-on-one, Broki was stronger than the latter. However, there are 9 of those demons in front of him. There was no chance of winning. How about this? Baru! Evil energy spreads from Baru's small body in all directions. Baru uses skill Harsh Command. Skill Harsh Command increases Broki's stats by 50%. As a side effect of skill Harsh Command, Broki is cursed with madness. Broki attacked the demons without hesitation. The demons bounced helplessly from Broki's huge forepaw, which swung like a baseball bat. Then, Suho's twin swords whirled at those who were dashingly driven into the concrete wall. Blade Storm. Use skill Blade Storm. Swish. Suho's body whirled around like a typhoon and drove them away. You have killed a low-level demon. Near defeat the low-level demons. Thanks to that, Esil, who was fighting a grueling battle alone, managed to breathe a sigh. Rather than being relieved, her eyes widened at the sight of Broki raging. Is this real? A black beast that drives demons with its massive body like an anti-tank. As far as Esil knew, there was only one person in the world who could command a beast that looked like that. The one who destroyed the demon realm alone long ago. He who blocked the front and destroyed all demons, eventually overthrowing the king of demons, Baran. That frightening and great name. Sung Jinwoo is here? Esil's face, which had been exuding frost-like aura all along, suddenly brightened. She hurriedly looked around to find Sung Jinwoo. Where are you, She finally found, although it wasn't Sung Jinwoo, a face very similar to Sung Jinwoo in his childhood. Esil tilted her head. Long time no see. Baru slowly appeared in front of Esil. Is that you, Baru? Esil was surprised to see Baru's changed appearance after a long time. Why are you so small? The Baru she remembers was a demon more terrible than the one who took the lead in slaughtering his enemies by the side of Sung Jinwoo. For some reason, Baru's current form had changed into a cute figure the size of a fist. On the other hand, Baru was equally curious. You have gotten a lot weaker. What happened? I had a hard time. Esil laughed and whimpered even while shedding blood. Baru snorted as if that figure was pathetic. Your carefree personality is still the same, despite being on the verge of dying. As long as I'm still alive, that's what matters. Ha 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 ha! What happened in the demon realm? Esil collapsed to the ground even before Baru could finish his words. The moment he saw Baru, all the tension she was feeling got relieved. Esil whimpered while lying flat on the floor and called out to Baru. Baru, I really feel like dying. Can you heal me? Too bothersome. Why? It's a waste of mana. Seeing Baru's sudden refusal, Esil realized. Ah, are you weak too? I am not, Baru answered irritatedly. Meanwhile, Suho's battle continued. You have killed a low-level demon. You have killed a low-level demon. Vulcanhorn devoured a demon's soul. Vulcanhorn devoured a demon's soul. The situation was already almost leaning towards Suho. The harsh command, which increased Broki's ability by a whopping 50%, had a much higher amplification effect than stardust. In addition, the more demons were killed, the stronger Suho became. Devoured Demon Soul 3. Devoured Demon Soul 4. Effect Destruction Desire increases physical damage by 33%. Effect Destruction Desire increases physical damage by 34%. Your level increased. Your level increased? Keep it up. Suho's sword decapitated the last demon. Just like that, Suho's level reached exactly level 20. Great. Now your level has exceeded 20, so you can use Shop Purchase. After checking the message that arrived, Suho tilted his head. There's a shop system too? Chapter 27. Just in time, the quest was also completed. You have completed quest Rescue the Victims. Number of rescued victims 7. Looks like they got out of the dungeon safely. Suho thought, remembering the hunters who carried the survivors on their backs. He promised to let them get out as soon as possible, so as not to be caught by the demons. And now only Suho had to escape on his own. But before that, the quest completion reward has arrived. Do you want to check the reward? Yes or no? Yes. The following rewards are prepared. Reward 1, ability points, plus 3. Reward 2, 1 random box. Random box? Suho got curious. An ordinary random box without the word cursed? He had no idea what was inside. Suho accepted all of the rewards. All the ability points were allocated in the muscle strength stat. And after a while, a small random box appeared in Suho's hand. What's in it? He quickly opened the wrapping paper, and unexpectedly, there were several shiny golden coins inside. You have acquired 700 gold. Gold? Did they give him 700 gold because he saved 7 victims? It was very coincidental to receive gold for use in shops as soon as the shop function was activated. A coincidence, of course not. Suho was also dimly aware of it now. In the level-up system inherited from his father, he felt the goodwill toward him. Thank you for the allowance, father. All gold coins received went into the inventory. At the bottom of the inventory, there was a mark that said 700 gold. Open the shop. A new shop window opened in front of Suho. Shop. Buy or sell. The shop window was extremely simple. The moment Suho was about to check the purchase list to see what items he could purchase. Young master, Baru suddenly appeared and asked, "What will we do with that demon?" Suho's gaze returned to the dying female demon who collapsed on the floor. Come to think of it, there was still that demon. The enemy of an enemy is a friend. She was a devil who fought hard against low-level demons until a while ago, so he left without killing her. But now, it was time to make a choice. He needed to check something first. I saw you a little while ago and you were talking. Do you two know each other? That's right. The Radiru Clan was the only one that did not attack His Majesty when he subdued the demon realm. The Radiru Clan were demons who acknowledged their weakness and volunteered to become Sung Jinwoo's slaves. However, their surrender would never have been accepted if it had not been for Sung Jinwoo's whims. In fact, most of the demons that Sung Jinwoo encountered were dead. Or, just like the low-level demons they encountered today, only the cowards who ran away from the battlefield early and hid out of Sung Jinwoo's sight were still alive. His Majesty forcibly captured that demon named Esil and used her as a guide. Excuse me, Esil, who had fallen on the floor, called for Suho with a dying voice, bleeding profusely. I'm sorry to disrupt your conversation, but could you please save me first? I really feel like dying. Right then, a sound echoed from Esil's belly. Huh? As Suho and Baru's gaze focused, Esil caressed her sunken belly with an embarrassed expression. I starved for a few years because I was being chased. When she said she was going to die, she must have meant that he was going to die of hunger. In conclusion, Suho saved Esil in the end. There were many reasons, one of which was to test the effect of the potion he bought at the store. Item: healing potion. Type: consumables. A potion that can restore health. Drinking it slowly restores 500 HP. It can be stored in the inventory, but cannot be transferred to others. It can't be transferred to someone else, but is it possible to feed it to them directly? Suho approached Esil and poured the potion into her mouth. After drinking the potion, Esil's wounds began to heal gradually. Wait, you're a healer? How are you related to Jinwoo, by the way? Suho was quite surprised and yet ignored Esil's gaze. He just focused on the potion's effect. The healing effect is a bit slow. It would be difficult to use it in a hurry during battle. Still, leveling up is the best. After a while, Esil's condition improved to the point where she was able to move. But the sound from her stomach was still loud. I'm so hungry I have no energy. She fought well a while back, though. For the second reason why Suho saved Esil, it was because the energy he felt from Esil was not that great. In other words, it would be easy. Even after drinking the potion and recovering, the energy he felt from Esil was still at most C-class. According to Baru's explanation, demon nobles originally had to have S-class strength to be normal. However, due to various complex reasons, Esil's power was reduced in half. But no matter how weak she is, I can't just keep a demon out of the dungeon. For that reason, Suho made a choice. Would you like to enter the Shadow Dungeon? Yes. Suho took Esil to the Shadow Dungeon. The Shadow Dungeon is a space that is not freely accessible except for Shadow soldiers. It was the perfect prison to confine the demon. However, upon entering the Shadow Dungeon, Esil's reaction was not what he expected. I can't believe I'm back in the world of rest, Esil exclaimed with an ecstatic expression after seeing the world in black and white. Then looking back at Suho, she asked, how can you go into the world of rest through your shadows when you are not even the Shadow Monarch? What kind of relationship do you have with Jinwoo? I'm his son. Son, oh, you were Suho? Esil said in a louder voice. Oh my god, that little baby is already this big? Humans grow really fast. Do you know me? Suho tilted his head. No matter how much of his sealed memories returned, he didn't remember all the faces he had seen when he was young. On top of that, there were so many soldiers living in Sung Jinwoo's world. Suho looked away from Esil, who was happy to see him, and asked Baru, what is the world of rest? It's another name for the Shadow Dungeon. Baru answered. The identifiers referring to the world ruled by the Shadow Monarch varied greatly. Shadow World, Realm After Death, and the World of Rest. Other monarchs who are now dead had their own worlds like this. However, the Shadow Monarch was the only one who carried an entire world in his shadow. Is this Shadow Dungeon a world I rule? To be precise, it is the world ruled by His Majesty. But somehow, when the young master was born, that world was split in two. It would be more accurate to say that it proliferated. So one of them has become my shadow. Suho nodded. The small talk was over, and it was time to get to the main point. Suho looked at Esil and asked directly, "Did you say your name is Esil? Anyway, I saved your life, so now tell me everything you know. What are the demons up to on Earth? Did something happen in the demon realm?" The thing is, Esil was hesitant. After the war, everything was fine at first. Sung Jinwoo killed all the other nobles. Our dear Radiru Clan became #1 in the demon hierarchy. He made our homeless family stay in the world of shadows. At that time, the demon realm had already lost its demon monarch and was torn to pieces, wandering through the dimensional rift. In such a situation, Sung Jinwoo let the demons of the Radiru Clan who helped him live in his world. But that was only for a moment. We couldn't become inhabitants of the shadow world after all. Because they are contaminated souls? You know very well. As Suho experienced, demons were basically mana-tainted spirits, so they could not be extracted as shadow soldiers. As a result, we had no choice but to return to the demon realm. No, to be precise, the devil realm called us. Demon realm? Yeah. A red gate leading to the demon realm suddenly opened in front of us who lived in the shadow world, and suddenly it started sucking us in. A world that has lost its monarch calls for a monarch. It was natural for the demon realm to call the Radiru Clan, the only existing demon nobles. However, the demon realm was a world maintained by strict laws for the weak. Had it not been for Sung Jinwoo's help, the Radiru Clan, who were only ranked 20th, would not have the power to dominate the demon realm. The demons who had been hiding from the Shadow Monarch throughout the war crawled out again when the war was over and began to challenge Radiru's seemingly formidable authority. If only the Radiru Clan is gone, we can become nobles too. Let's eat the nobles and drink their pure blood. If we consume pure blood, our demon energy will be amplified. All the demons became one and started attacking the Radiru Clan. They were the weakest among the nobles in the first place, so they lacked the strength to stop the rebellion. A demon with weak power does not deserve to live. The Radiru Clan was overpowered just like that, and their blood was consumed. Now, Esil was the only surviving demon noble. Is that why you became so weak? Yeah, I almost died several times and I lost a lot of blood. That's why my strength has weakened. Beru, who was listening by the side, spoke. The order of power for the tribe of demons was determined from the time they were born. It's not like they're purebloods or hybrids for nothing. Since the basis of power is in the blood, they are frantic to drink blood. It's similar to Grey. Suho seemed to have understood. Esil nodded enthusiastically at Beru's statement. That's right. For that reason, demons are extremely afraid of their power being weakened. Whether you're a noble or a hybrid, it's a world where if you're weak, you'll be eaten. That's why the people who summoned me earlier are really strange. Is it strange? Yes. Because they came to Earth even possessing the bodies of people weaker than themselves. To have a weak body is not a demonic behavior. Suho understood what Esil was trying to say. Are you saying that there is someone else behind the demons? That's right. Actually, the way they summoned me earlier was also strange. We demons are good at destroying and killing, but they don't know how to use a magic skill that forcefully opens a dimensional wall. Then what? Did someone teach the demons? Who? Beru, who was listening to the conversation from the side, let out a long sigh. Could it be a transfiguration? The Chaos World? Gate magic was originally a method often used by Yogamant, monarch of transfiguration. A specter. Suho pondered Beru's words and drew a picture in his head. Then the defeated soldiers from the demon world and the chaos world joined hands. One more thing. Stardust. Mistburn, one of the ingredients for stardust. No, blue mist. The main composition of Mistburn was the magic of the universe that seeped through the boundaries of dimensions. It seems that they are plotting something using the defeated soldiers here. Yes, I think so too. Beru nodded with a calm expression. Who knows, they might have already gotten on Earth. It seemed that the invasion had already begun. Chapter 28. Wait. For a moment, Suho felt a certain déjà vu. Looking back, all the recent events were connected. Gwanaksan Field, Hyena Guild, Seoul Station Field. They all had one thing in common. These are all places that were created a year ago. Come to think of it, it seems that the aliens have been hiding on Earth since a year ago. A year ago? Suho decided to start from there. Then shall we go in reverse order? If we search the dungeons, fields, and guilds that were created a year ago, will we come up with something else? If they find a demon, they might be able to strengthen Vulcan's horns more. If any other traces of outer space are found, that would be enough. Oh, as expected, our young master is very clever. You've grown well. It seems like it was only yesterday when I was teaching addition and subtraction, Beru said. It just occurred to him. Right, it was there. The most famous area in Korea a year ago. The scene of that horrific tragedy. In Magok. Suho's eyes glimmered. Hunter Association Surveillance Division. No matter how much I brush some things off, other things keep coming out. The more Han Jae-hyuk investigated the base of the destroyed Hyena Guild, the more absurd it became. Even 100 reports were not enough to list all the evil deeds the Hyena Guild had done. Among them, matters related to crime were transferred to the police hunters. The areas of intensive investigation by the association were those outside the boundaries of the law. For example, things like stardust. Stardust was not a drug per se, so it wasn't really illegal to use it. That means one can keep taking that unknown medicine. The Hunter Association has continued to investigate how stardust was made and who made it, and this time they finally got a clue from the base of the Hyena Guild ledger of transactions. When and how much stardust the Hyena Guild purchased. They found a ledger that recorded who sold it and how. This made it clear that the Hyena Guild was one of the distributors of stardust, although they weren't sure if they could even find out the main source of stardust. I didn't expect some people to buy stardust even when they were in debt. It could mean otherwise. If they went to a higher dungeon using stardust, they would have been able to pay off that much debt right away. So they were earning money to keep coming back to Hyena and buy stardust? In the end, only the Hyena Guild kept sweeping up the money in the middle. What a really creative economy. The real problem was that most of the hunters in the ledger were among the missing people for the past year. Most of them probably fell prey to the boss mob that controlled Hyena from behind. However, as they continued to examine the ledger, they found one strange thing. Among those missing were marked with a red line. They were debtors who were not hunters. Who are these people? Is there something different about them? Oh, team leader, look here. A subordinate showed some data to team leader Han Jae-hyuk. If you look here, the date when stardust was received in large quantities from Hyena and the date when these checked missing people disappeared are the same day. Each and every one of them. You're right. Does it have something to do with their disappearance? There was only one thing that came to their minds right away. Could it be that they were traded for stardust? Humans for stardust? Team leader Han Jae-hyuk looked through the ledger from the beginning. He eventually found something out. Most likely, there's the quantity of stardust bought from Hyena, but there's no indicated actual amount of money paid for it. It means they didn't pay. That's right. Could it be that they paid using people instead of money for stardust? Why? We'll have to figure it out. If Hyena didn't make the stardust themselves, those who made it. Right then, an urgent phone call arrived at the surveillance department. Team leader, there's a new report! What report? I'm busy right now. Someone discovered the stardust factory. Let's hurry up. When Han Jae-hyuk received the report and arrived in front of the Seoul Station field, everything was already over. What the hell just happened here? There sat the survivors who were held in the factory and the hunters who rescued them, exhausted. It's a long story, but the raid leader explained everything that had happened. Factory? You mean they were making stardust in here? Who? Demon? The more he listened to the explanation, the more and more the puzzles of the case that he had been investigating lately were being put together in his head. Right now, there was no time to sit quietly and ponder. What? Is that true? Are you saying there's still someone down there fighting the demons alone? Yes. He said he would buy us time to escape. Please hurry up and go in and save him. Meanwhile, Assistant Professor Lim had been stamping his feet, worrying about Suho's safety. At least in his eyes, Suho seemed to have barely overcome the first demon he encountered. However, there were as many as 10 such demons in the factory. I shouldn't worry. Suho said he would get out of there on his own, although he must have said it to reassure us. That rascal, seriously. Just like in the dungeon at Korea University, he tried to sacrifice himself for us. Han Jae-hyuk, who heard all the explanations, held the weapon he had brought with a grim expression. All right, we'll go right in. His weapons were 2 steel shields huge enough to cover half of his body. The moment those 2 shields were lifted in his hands, a transparent shield was overlaid on his whole body. Iron wall? The moment he saw that, Assistant Professor Lim belatedly recognized who Team Leader Han Jae-hyuk was. He is a C-class tanker whose skills were recognized enough to receive offers from various famous guilds. Looking at it now, the hunters lined up behind him all looked great. Everything's going to be alright now. Suho will survive. Han Jae-hyuk led the association's hunters into Seoul Station with a more reliable appearance. Then, suddenly, looking back in front of the entrance, he asked one last time. Ah, by the way, what class is the hunter who remained below? That... The raid leader opened his mouth hesitantly, with a slightly embarrassed expression. He's an E-class collector. What? The raid leader was embarrassed. Suddenly the association hunters felt like they were useless. It was really embarrassing. I'll have to find out about Magok as soon as I get back. Suho finished all his errands and got out of the factory. However, when he tried to go up to the ground, he felt something regrettable. It was because of Broki. I just had released such a strong guy as a shadow soldier, so it's a pity to send it away just like this. The said shadow soldier lasted only for a day. Its shadow release became futile. Also, since Suho doesn't know when he'll be able to get a monster of this level again, he wanted to use it as efficiently as possible. Do you want to turn around? There are still many lizards nearby. I should? He decided to clean out the field. Broki, who became a shadow soldier, lost his ability to speak. However, his intellect was still the same, so there was no need for lengthy explanations. Catch them all. Like a typical beast, Broki had a very good sense of smell. On Suho's command, Broki searched for lizards hiding all over the field, and killed them all by biting them. Then, he brought the bodies and arranged them in front of Suho one by one. Suho's level was so high that the lizards don't give much effect any longer. All of these are money. Young master, since there are so many, I'd like to take a bite. One bite? This small one is definitely a worm. Beru tilted his head. Suho, who had been hunting lizards with Broki, was wearing a crow mask. Previously, he used it to pretend to be the youngest demon, but this time it was for a completely different reason. In fact, this item had one minor function. Item crow mask. Type miscellaneous item. A suspicious mask worn by demons. Provides vision if used in a dark place. Can be kept in inventory or sold in the shop. It's better than night vision goggles. Thanks to the increased senses stat, he was able to identify objects even in the dark. It was nice that the stuffiness wearing the crow mask disappeared completely. Since each of the demons had one of these nice items, Suho brought all the masks of the demons in the factory. But the problem started from there. A demon! Huh? The association hunters who entered the field just in time encountered Suho wearing a crow mask. They had already heard from hunters outside that demons were wearing crow masks. On top of that, a huge hyena Broki was standing next to Suho looking absolutely evil. Attack! No, wait. Before Suho could even open his mouth, the hunters' attack started pouring in, aiming at Suho. An urgent quest has arrived. Urgent quest, defeat the enemies. There are people around who have the intent to kill the player. Oh, not this. Reject, cancel. For his survival, there came an emergency quest. Suho hurriedly refuses the quest and takes off his mask to reveal his identity. I'll be in charge of this guy. Team leader Han Jae-hyuk, who had come close, swung his shield at Suho. Meanwhile, the other hunters attacked Broki all at once. Iron wall. A transparent shield came towards Suho like a huge barrier. Young master? Beru shouted. Suho eventually rolled up his hand to take off his mask. I'll just have to suppress it for now. Right then, a black smoke was overlaid on his fist. He pierced himself into the transparent shield that was pressuring him. With that one punch. Strength, 45. Huh? Han Jae-hyuk's body bounced off along with the shield. Then, he was plugged right into the wall. What? Suho was dumbfounded. The eyes of the association hunters who witnessed the scene widened. Team leader? What is that? The wall where Han Jae-hyuk was plugged in collapsed, revealing his face with his eyes turned upside down. He just fainted. Can humans only do this much? Well, he invested all his stats only in strength. Besides Suho, Beru was nodding his head, saying that it was an expected result. Suho took off his crow mask with an awkward expression. Can we resolve this through a proper conversation? With that, all the hunters nodded their heads coldly. Chapter 29. Although there were minor incidents, the post-processing was carried out in an instant. The association hunters realized that Suho was not the demon, and he guided them to the factory. Where are all the demons? When they arrived at the factory, there were only traces of battle, but no demons were visible. When the hunters' curious eyes focused on him, Suho made an awkward expression. I know, right? Did everyone run away? Oops. Beside him, Beru was openly burping, but no one suspected anything. They just thought the pet was the size of a stuffed toy. It seems like they noticed us coming, so they all got away. Well, we came too soon. We just heard the report and went to the scene right away. Oops. Beru was grinding his teeth beside him, but no one particularly doubted him. His stomach was protruding, but they thought it must have been his usual flat-bellied stomach. Still, I'm glad we secured the site. In fact, that alone was a great pleasure. They found a factory that manufactured stardust. Above all, it has even revealed the shocking fact that people's lives are sacrificed in the manufacturing process. Thank you. The association hunters who came out of the field gathered all the hunters, including Suho and Assistant Lim, and thanked them. Thanks to your tip, many future crimes can be prevented. From now on, our association and police hunters will do their best to investigate. He added one thing, and you will be paid a reward for this work. As usual, there was a small reward for those who reported crimes. Good, I'm going to use this money to buy meat for the two. Suho nodded, remembering the ones left behind in the Shadow Dungeon. Whether they were the last descendants of the Canine Clan, or the only surviving demon nobles, they were just hungry refugees to Suho. When he opened his eyes, it was an unfamiliar ceiling. Team leader, are you feeling better? Han Jae-hyuk got up from the bed with a heavy feeling. White walls and the smell of disinfectant. It was a hospital. He looked at his subordinate with a confused expression. Why am I here? Don't you remember? You fainted. Faint? Yes, one punch. Then there was a memory that passed through his mind. That crow mask. He hurriedly got up from his seat and shouted. The demon! What happened to the demon? He's not a demon. What? He's not? Yes. The hunter we went looking for was him. Seeing the confused team leader, the subordinate sighed and said, It was all our misunderstanding. The subordinate told him everything that happened when he passed out. Han Jae-hyuk's expression hardened. What? What did you just say? I just said it clearly. A summoning hunter? Who the heck would be a summoning hunter? Who else? Of course, the hunter who knocked you out with one punch. What? He realized he didn't hear it wrong. An expression of absurdity appeared on team leader Han Jae-hyuk's face. I was beaten by a summoning hunter and passed out, but I am Han Jae-hyuk. Yes. So from now on, please don't let your guard down and use your quick-witted skills first. I did, though. You did? I used a skill. The subordinate was even more surprised. Why did you pass out? You're a C-class tanker. That's what I'm saying. Then you passed out in one hit even after using your real skills? Does that make sense? Was he really an E-class hunter? E-class? Are you kidding me right now? He glared at his subordinate with a grim expression. However, the subordinate only shrugged his shoulders calmly. Why would I joke around? I also checked the hunter's ID, and he was really E-class. What was his name again? Sung Suho? Sung Suho? When he heard the name, there was a face that flashed through Han Jae-hyuk's head. Coincidentally, the name of the rookie E-class hunter, whom he had personally measured his mana power back then, was Sung Suho. There's no way that would happen. Right, that person? It's not that I'm reading your mind, but I was also with you at the time. Sung Suho, the E-class hero of the Korea University dungeon, whose mana we measured directly, is the one who knocked you out. Really? Wasn't he a college student? How? Han Jae-hyuk couldn't believe it. However, the subordinate responded indifferently. There must have been a measurement error. He punched you who even used skills with his bare fists. How could such a hunter be only an E-class? I expect that at least he's a C-class. Even so, how could he just... Anyway, I apologize on his behalf. I told him to visit the association again and get a remeasurement. That's the end of the briefing. Then I'll get off work. Prestige once lost never returns. Team leader Han Jae-hyuk, who left all the work and just slept, muttered dejectedly as he looked at the back of his subordinate's head as he left. Things these days, he suddenly remembered the moment he fainted. E-class was a measurement error? Well, it was fine. It was a rare accident, but it happened occasionally. But one question still remained. He must have been a summoning hunter, but seeing that there was an enormous beast that looked like a hyena right next to him, it was certain that he's a summoning hunter. But how? How did he have such superpowers? Could that power be some kind of transformation of the summoning skill? He stroked his chin and thought of Sung Suho's appearance that he had seen at the hospital. An ordinary college student who looks quite decent. He was tall and had a moderately muscular body, but that was it. Looking at the outside, he didn't look like a hunter with absolute strength. Well, I'll find out someday. More than that, there's something he's thinking of. The words he left on the day Sung Suho's mana was measured. Then, Mr. Sung Suho, I look forward to a good performance in the future. Just like that time, a warm smile appeared on team leader Han Jae-hyuk's lips. I'll really look forward to it. He was looking forward to seeing what kind of hunter Suho would become in the future. Reaper Guild. Vice President Lee Min-sung was angry to the core. What? Why did the factory that was running fine suddenly disappear? that with the information from the hunters, the association... Fuck! Lee Min-sung kicked the stomach of the man in front of him. He screamed loudly as he got trampled on and flown into the wall. So what? What association? What do these bastards know me as? If they took the money, they should have brought the goods properly no matter what. Oh, Mr. Vice President, we're really victims too. The demons in the factory disappeared without a trace. The actions of the A-class hunter, who was angry to the top of his head, was too terrible to be called a simple vent. If it wasn't for hunter capabilities, even the man being trampled by those feet would have died in an instant. After venting his anger like that, the man finally passed out. Min-sung slapped him on the cheek to wake him up and grabbed him by the collar. So what happened to all the demons? The man hurriedly spilled out everything he knew. Lee Min-sung squinted his eyes after hearing all the information. The location of the factory was discovered by hunters passing by chance? Yes, it is said that they fought the demons and rescued the civilians there. Do you think that makes sense? What? He grabbed the man by the collar. It's not a large guild, and 10 demons were killed by raiders led by a C-class? Only the captain is C-class? The other 9 are D-class, and fucking E-class collectors? Also what? I also don't think it makes sense. The man closed his eyes and shouted. Only then did Lee Min-sung let go of the man's collar. Then what do you think? This time, you have to come up with some more useful suggestions. If you want to live. I think it must have been a prank on the part of the association. As you know, the guys from the association have been chasing the source of the stardust. But this time, somehow, they found out the location of the factory. So, if they openly investigate stardust that is not yet illegal, they will have to check guilds that handle stardust like us. Then, we put the clumsy ones up front and move as they report to us? Yes, that's it. Okay, that makes some sense. Min-sung nodded his head in agreement. I've seen those demons myself. They were absolutely impossible to deal with for low-level hunters. That's right. So? What? That must be a great solution, right? Again, a terrible murderous spirit emanated from Lee Min-sung as he strangled the man. Of course. There is not just one factory. The Seoul Station field was only convenient for delivery because of the subway line. But if you look for it, demons will hide here and there and set up star powder factories. Here and there? Why are there so many demons? Only then was Lee Min-sung giggling as if satisfied. However, the eyes looking at the man were not smiling at all. Yes, of course, we are also always grateful to you, Vice President. Then do your thing. Shouldn't you repay the favor? The man's identity was none other than the remnants of the Hyena Guild that was being chased by the association. But now he had nowhere to go, so he became the faithful follower of Vice President Lee Min-sung. Damn, that's a big problem. In a few days, the power of blood will completely disappear. The ability of the Hyena Guild members to turn into werewolves by drinking the blood of the canine clan lasted only 10 days. If they don't drink blood regularly every 10 days, they would go back to being an ordinary, normal person, let alone the beast transformation skill. It was clear that if Vice President Lee Min-sung found out about this, he would ruthlessly throw them out. Before that, I have to do something. Either find the lost wolf cub in Gwanak-san, or find traces of other monarchs similar to him. 2 options. Meanwhile, Suho went to the butcher shop with the reward money he received. Yes, please come in. The butcher, who was preparing the meat, talked to Suho with a friendly tone, then smiled. What kind of meat would you like? 1 pig? Do you sell them whole? Ah no, I need 2. Chapter 30. Gray was crouching down and keeping an eye on his prey. Gray level 4. Canine wolf. His level had risen a little, but his size was still like that of a palm. As a descendant of the great canine clan, he had grown up enough to easily hunt 1 or 2 goblins. Thanks to that, Gray has recently been strong enough to walk around with his tail standing upright. If 3 goblins planned to attack at the same time, they would quickly roll up their tails and take refuge in a small pre-dug burrow. Gray would eventually give up and go back, because the den was too small. One day, a big crisis came to Gray, who was adapting to the life of the Shadow Dungeon while playing with such big and stupid goblins. An uninvited guest suddenly came to the Shadow Dungeon. Gray was secretly approaching the uninvited guest with an extremely cautious look. The guest looked pretty strong, but didn't seem to have any strength, probably starving for a long time. I can do it. That part aroused sympathy in Gray. I can do it. It was a very honorable thing to hunt a prey stronger than oneself. Gray held his breath and waited for an opening with a tense expression. And finally, the guest moved. I can see you. Esil's hand lifted Gray's nape and glared at him.
Oh, got caught!
Gray was startled and kicked his short legs. When he realized that no matter how hard he struggled, he could not escape Esil's clutches, he howled fiercely with his defiant eyes. Oh, really? If it wasn't for you being Suho's pet, I would have eaten you. Esil looked at Gray and licked her lips, saying that it was such a pity. I never thought that the descendant of the Fang monarch would remain in a place like this. Although he was no more than a bite in size, the blood and flesh of the Fang clan is itself a very precious elixir. What? You want to taste it? Gray twisted his snout around and eagerly licked Esil's hand that was holding his back. Even so, his eyes continued to glare at Esil with a bold expression. Oh my, you're a funny puppy. Esil finally laughed. Well, you know instinctively, if you eat me, you will gain strength. Because we're actually in the same position. She was the only demon noble alive in the demon realm. In other words, she was the only legitimate person who might one day become the demon monarch. Just as the demons were aiming for Esil's blood this time, the pure blood flowing through Esil's body had precious power in itself. And the same goes for you. This cheeky little cub was the only one of the canine clan who might one day become the Fang monarch. Esil suddenly had a strange feeling. To think that two purebloods from a clan destroyed by war are gathered here. For what purpose did Suho gather us? Oh, come on, stop licking. Right then. You have entered the Shadow Dungeon. Suho and Beru enter the Shadow Dungeon just in time. There was a fresh whole pig in their hands. 2 whole pigs. Oh. Esil and Gray's heads turned at the same time. A loud noise echoed from Esil and Beru's stomachs. Suho chuckled and pushed the whole pig forward. I heard demons like meat. Yes, anything but grass. Esil quickly threw Gray and took the whole pig from Suho. Gray came back and greedily exposed his teeth in front of Esil. Gray suddenly turns over on his stomach and starts twisting his body around. However, Esil was adamant. No, go back, this is my meal. There's no use wagging your tail now. The wolf cub and the demon noble were arguing over a whole pig. Suho, who watched the scene from behind, couldn't hide his dejected expression. Why do carnivores seem to be gathering around me more and more these days? It is delicious. 2 whole pigs were brought. From behind, Beru was clinging to the remaining one and was eating it. Even the brave Gray did not dare to take Beru's food. Thank you for the food. Esil shoved her hand inside the pig's body. The large whole pig began to shrivel around Esil's hand. Oh. Beru appeared next to Suho, who was curiously looking at him, and explained. They suck in the mana that was in the pig's body. Each demon has a different way of eating, but demon nobles usually prefer a clean method. Oh, you scared me. Are you an explanation worm or what? You are the worm, young master, Beru said casually. Then he went back to his pig and opened his mouth wide. Beru, contrary to Esil, seemed to prefer a sloppy way of eating. Suho smiled and slowly looked away. So wild goblins who smelled the meat were gathering around them one by one. Suho stretched out his hand. One of them suddenly floated up in the air and struggled on its legs. Ruler's power. A faint smile crossed Suho's lips. Should I be doing the daily quest? Daily quest, cleaning the Shadow Dungeon. 100 goblins, incomplete, 0-100. 10 commander goblins, incomplete, 0-10. 1 main commander goblin, incomplete, 0-1. The completion reward has arrived. Do you want to check the reward? Yes or no? Suho felt that his abilities had risen again. Now, even 100 goblins does not seem to be morning exercise. Suho lightly brushed his hands among the dead bodies of the goblins. The 2 swords, Raken's sword and Vulcan's horns, were stuck into the ground. Looks like a hidden quest won't appear like last time. He caught a few more this time, but somehow the hidden reward seemed to be a one-time thing. Still, the normal daily quest rewards were also good enough. The following rewards are prepared. Reward 1, state recovery. Reward 2, ability points plus 3. Reward 3, 1 random box. Suho decided to keep the first reward, status recovery, unaccepted. I'll save this and use it later in case of an emergency. He could recover his HP with potions, but the recovery amount was small, and the speed of recovery was slow. On the other hand, the status recovery reward restores HP immediately. It was good to use in an urgent situation. All stats are invested in strength. The higher the strength stat, the higher the power and speed. Random box. This time it wasn't a hidden reward, so an ordinary random box appeared in Suho's hand. When the box was opened, a small ring rolled out. You have acquired item Gray Ring. Ring? When Suho took out a dull-colored ring, the description of the item appeared. Item Gray Ring. Difficulty to get D. Type accessory. Sense apply 5. It raises the senses stat by 5 points. Suho's eyes widened. It was a pretty good item for what it looked like. Sense stat is a stat that raises the five senses and increases the ability to detect danger. In other words, the sense of catching an unexpected event rises. Suho quickly put the ring on his finger. The size was loose, but it was not a problem. Item, gray ring is worn. The gray ring disappeared from the finger, and the stats were added immediately. Senses, 29 plus 5. A normal random box is also very good. It feels like they were giving away prizes. Suho completed the daily quest just like that. The meal was already over. Esil, who had been watching Suho hunt the goblins from behind, was making a puzzled expression. It wasn't polite to help someone else hunt, so she just watched him. She found the situation itself with goblins wandering around here as something strange. It's a big deal. What? How did the dimensional refugees get here? Dimensional refugees? I mean those guys. After the War of the Outer Gods, the surviving defeated soldiers were caught up in the dimensional rift and mixed here and there. They are called the dimensional refugees. In a way, it was quite expected. Since all the monarchs who were the central point disappeared, the monsters under them were scattered. But I don't think this is a coincidence. What's not a coincidence? Beru also showed interest in Esil's words. That in fact, breaking through the dimensional wall is a very difficult task. I agree. If it was easy, I would have gone back to His Majesty right away. Beru nodded. In the old days, you had to be at least the Spectre Monarch to break through the gate to another dimension. Even that was never easy. It was such a case for Beru. But can only the defeated soldiers of the war come over the wall of dimension so easily? What? A strange glimmer appeared in Beru's eyes. Suho also noticed what Esil was trying to say and nodded. Could it be because of the blue mist? That's right. The blue mist from outer space began to tangle the walls of our dimension. How severe was the disintegration that even such weak goblins flowed into the world ruled by the Shadow Monarch? Esil shrugged, saying it was ridiculous. I agree with that statement. Raken's sword in Suho's hand suddenly interrupted the conversation. There is no way that the defeated soldiers would have entered the world ruled by the victor of the war on their own feet, unless they have gone mad. It must have been that the dimensional rift was really tightly twisted. During the conversation, Suho suddenly realized an important fact. Beru, let me ask one thing. Yep. Didn't you say that the strength of my father's soldiers and the apostles of outer gods are similar? That's right. It was so tense that even the monarch didn't dare to come to Earth himself, so he sent me. If you think of it the other way around, wouldn't the outer space side all the more dare to come over to Earth right now? What? Beru's eyes widened. Oh, there. His eyes widened once again. Right? Young master is right. Of course they will. Beru nodded frantically. Suho also nodded and murmured, that's why they use dimensional refugees. Since they couldn't come on their own, it's clear that they gathered dimensional refugees and sent them to Earth instead. And this was not a bad situation at all from the perspective of the dimensional refugees, because from their point of view, Earth was a perfect place to kill, steal, and conquer as much as they want. And another one. Suho finally realized the meaning of the daily quest given to him. We need to clean up the goblins as soon as possible, and find the gap in the dimension they crossed over to and block it. You're right. If we continue to leave the dimensional refugees alone, they will keep coming. No, to be exact, they will find out about my existence. Suho was clearly aware of his situation, because I am my father's only weakness. He found another reason to become stronger.